back to IBC again for the second year running?
Well, obviously we're still very bullish on 3D. Our company's expanding. We've had a great year in terms of new product development and new projects, and we're going to be showing people. Well, first of all, we want to share our sort of comprehensive vision for 3D. You know, what we call the zero delta philosophy, or the 5D philosophy, which is, you know, the kind of joint 2D 3D production, which we made a good go of and have you know, a lot of time in the trenches on, you know, and have a lot of new products that support that approach, because we're all about getting the cost down so that we can expand, you know, throughout all broadcast products ultimately, and that's our goal. And you know, this year we're also starting our expansion into the China market. You know, we're opening a division there, CPG China, it's called, which will be at least as big as our North American base, you know, company. So you know, I think it's a good story to tell this year, and we're looking to expand our operation into Europe. We haven't done much since last year on that front, and that's going to be our next strategic push. And I think the time is right for us to do that. I think we have a pretty amazing product line to show people, and a pretty good track record of having gone out and done what we said we were going to do. Because it was a little bit theory last year, and now we can actually point to examples to assuage a lot of people's concerns about cost and so on.
A lot of the 5D trials have been carried out in sporting events, in televising sporting events. Have you had any problems with that at all? Because the camera operator is just looking down the 2D camera, isn't he?
Well, I think we haven't had any problems in that effort at all. In fact, I think 3D has really benefited from that effort, because most of those guys that are looking down the barrel of that camera have 25 years experience under their belt. And so when we come to the table with a formula that uses that experience, that both drives the 2D camera and the 3D camera, the results are stunning for us. You know, I think initially some of our difficulties were when we used the camera as a standalone cameraman, when he was in a different spot or if he was in a different location on the course. But once we settled into areas that the crew was doing for the last 25 years, the results of the 3D shots were phenomenal. And I don't think it's in the experiment stage anymore. I think, you know, ESPN has announced that all of their college football games are being done with the 5D method. It's out of the experiment stage and into the real solution to deliver with a single production, 2D and 3D footage. And that's where we've been trying to move towards as a company for some time now, because we really feel that's the scale model for the industry.
The feeling at IBC has been that the take-up in 3D, certainly domestically, just isn't happening at the level that everyone hoped it would. Cinema is one thing, but not in television. What's your view on that?
Yeah, this reminds me a lot of the basic chicken and egg scenario that we had in cinema, and we hovered on the cusp of that for several years, and there were a lot of naysayers, but there aren't anymore, you know, because we pushed through that. And it's the same problem, you know, if the broadcasters aren't in there producing something that's attractive and interesting and comprehensive enough for people, then they're not going to buy the sets, and they're not going to put on the glasses. I think another threshold that we have to get past, and it'll happen in the next couple of years, is we want to be glasses free in the home, because I think the basic viewing paradigm is different than the cinema. In the cinema, you sort of have this contract with yourself that you're going to devote 2 hours or 2.5 hours to an experience, and you put the glasses on. But that's not how we consume our media in terms of entertainment, sport, whatever it is. And I think my personal philosophy is the breakthrough on that is going to be this tendency for people to go more to mobile platforms for their entertainment. So the tablets, laptops, you know, smaller single-user screens, which is, you know, families tend to now to fragment and have their own individual viewing rather than the centralized viewing paradigm, and it's evolving more and more that direction. That's actually going to be a boon to 3D, because it's much easier to get away from glasses with a single-user display than it is with a large flat panel that has to decode to multiple users, multiple viewer angles. We're not there yet with full definition with those autostereoscopic displays yet, and we might be 4 or 5 years down the line. But I think the breakthrough in the near term for glasses free is going to be on the mobile devices. So as I think, you know, we're seeing growth. We're not seeing growth as rapidly as we would have hoped, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It's really in the hands of the consumer electronics companies right now to put the new devices in the hands of the public. And the broadcasters that get caught flat-footed when that happens, when the knee in the curve comes and it starts to go vertical, you know, we're building muscle right now with ESPN in North America. They're going to be ready. They can take that model to scale as quickly as necessary, and we can follow with them. But I don't see that happening here as much. And so I guess we're just sort of here to share the benefit of what we've learned, because you know, a lot of what we said has historically come true. And this last year, between when we were here last and this year, is no exception. It just hasn't happened here. It's happened in North America. And we'd like to point to that model and say, guys, this is really working. As Vince said, it's not an experiment, it's not a theory. We're doing it, it's saving money, it's cost effective.
And Jim, do tell us about Deep Sea Challenge. I mean, a life-changing experience for you?
Not really life-changing. It was the 8th of my deep ocean expeditions. It's a 15-year period where, you know, we've been building camera technology and robotic vehicles and going deep. I mean, obviously this was probably a little more of a high-profile mission, you know, because the vehicle was designed to go to the deepest place in the ocean and succeeded in doing that. And none more relieved than my wife and children that it succeeded in doing that.
What about the technical challenges of that? There's not a lot of light down there, and there's not a lot, is there, because you took 3D cameras down, there's not a lot of foreground and background. It's a rather one-dimensional place you're filming in, isn't it?
Right. Well, you know, the thing you have to sort of back up and realize is that the sub went deeper by half again than any other operating submersible in the world. So there were no off-the-shelf solutions for propulsion, for flotation, for lighting, for camera systems that could deal with that pressure regime. So the difficulty for us was the complexity of developing all of these things simultaneously in parallel. Every system on the vehicle, including all the imaging systems, were developed from scratch. And I just want to show you something. We developed a little camera right here. This is a 1080 1920 24p camera that's fully self-contained, that puts out fiber. It's fiber coming out of this. So this was the core of our external imaging system. So we wrapped a couple of these babies in titanium housings, and it looks like this. Total, and most of the weight of what I'm holding in my hand is this boss right here, which goes into the pan and tilt. The actual cameras themselves here combined weigh about 4.5 pounds, and they're rated to an external pressure of 16,500 psi. So this actually replaces the 3D camera system that we used on the Titanic and Bismarck expeditions that was this big and weighed about 150 pounds. So it all scales up, obviously. You know, your pan and tilt then has to be, it can be much smaller, and then I hung this out on the end of a 6-foot camera boom that was hydraulically articulated. So I could actually turn around and image the sub itself in situ, because there was nobody else down there with me to take that picture. The stereo pays off when you get close to rocks and creatures that are swimming in the foreground and so on. And there's just more of a heightened sense for the audience that you're actually physically there, 7 miles down, seeing something nobody's ever seen before. And that's what and we'll be, you know, blowing this up to IMAX and putting it in digital 3D theaters around the world in April of next year. Wow. And eventually it'll come to broadcast. I know, but I think what you get from a broadcast perspective is you get a very tiny 24p, you know, full HD feed coming out as fiber, so you can put these things all over the place. And you know, when there's enough pressure on you, you come up with some interesting solutions.
Pressure of all sorts.
Of every type.
Yeah. What next can we expect from the camera and pace operation then, Vince?
Well, I think we're going to continue to expand our 5D solution model for our customers. I think that what we're starting to see more and more is that the product is working in the field. The directors are getting what they need. The producers are getting the costs down. we'll continue to integrate that product. And we'll be rolling Shadowcaster 1 soon, which is a completely complete mobile unit designed for 5D production, and with really designed to keep the costs of the individuals down, to be very powerful system to deliver both 2D and 3D. So it's going to be an exciting time for us to come full circle with seeing all of the products used in a single mobile unit.
And what sort of sporting events in the future might we see 5D being used in?
Well, you can see, we see 5D solutions for just about every sporting event, and we've been involved in just about every kind of sporting event. But we've got to get that message over here. We're just about to do the Ryder Cup golf tournament with B-Sky B in North America. And that'll be an opportunity for us to work, with them, side by side with them. And we hope to convince them that 5D is the answer, because that's not a solution that they're currently embracing. But I think that if given the opportunity for us to demonstrate that, I think we can show them the cost effectiveness of that model. So we're excited to be working with them again. We did a bit of a collaboration way back in the early days, a couple of years ago on the Royal Ballet. And since then, we haven't had an opportunity to work together. So we're pretty excited about this, because they're obviously such a pioneer in 3D broadcast, and we have vast respect for what they've accomplished over here.
Wish you guys the very best of luck. Jim, Vince, great to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed.